Life, well, it can apply to things like the truth of like letting things unfold the way they're supposed to and trusting, like having faith in something bigger than you. Having faith, um, having faith is really the solution I'm finding to fear. And a lot of people don't have enough, or the depth of their faith is not, if they had a deeper faith, for me, th- that would remove a lot of the fear that they endure. Whether it's for IVF transfers, egg retrievals, whether it's, a car loan if it's going to be approved, or announcing something to a family member, whatever, is having enough faith in the decisions that you're making, the in the person that you are, like having enough faith,
Mhm.
not just in those things, but also bigger than you, like your soul, Mother Earth, God, whatever their belief system is.
Mhm.
And I have found that when I ask, like if I'm coaching a person, I have several people in IVF actually. I have three right now today that are getting transfers. Is what if this doesn't work out? Some of this is the first time, if it's just like, or it's the second time, they already have one Reiki baby. So they're like trying for their second Reiki baby. Is what if the fear is like, if a miracle can happen once, why can't it happen again? Just like fear has been rampant, I'd say, for the past 5 days. But it's been intense but for me, um, I've been in an abundance streak. It's been the opposite for me. But I think I went through a dark night of the soul recently, about a
Okay.
month ago. So I kind of do the things sometimes a little bit ahead of my circle or my collective around me.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're to show them where the path is so that they can trust in the unknown, the uncertainty. So it makes
Yeah.
total sense. Because if you're
Yeah.
in the same frequency, then how are we going to get ourselves out if there's nobody finding solutions or have the experience of facing that fear and going through it still?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And it can feel uncomfortable because when you're in a high and other people are in a low, it's like, how do I not dim my light while other people are going through their dark moments? And it's remembering that it's reminding them that the light is already within them, that the darkness is
I didn't even think
like,
about that. I I'm just in this creation mode of like I have a membership, so I'm in this creation mode of how can I serve you? But I didn't even think about my light. I've just been using my light to create new things. Like in our membership, we had a office hours call where they would ask questions, but I really love podcasting. So I 2 weeks ago, I had an idea. I was like, oh, I should create a private podcast. How does one do that? And went down that rabbit hole. And then the next week I had a private podcast and it was just for us. And they can like, what is that? Like Dear Abby, where they can like ask the questions and then I just answer it. And it's just for them.
yeah,
It's not in like the App Store or the podcast or Google Podcast. So um I have been using my energy to create.
yeah. And that feels
Yeah.
abundant to you right now. And
I've never been
curiosity is
happier.
amazing, huh?
I've never been happier actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Your nervous system's regulated.
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah. And so being in this and it's like, oh, and I'm safe to receive and I'm safe to be tethered to my curiosity and I'm safe to feel joy and nothing's going to be taken away from me right now. And even when there's challenges, I have the energy to face them and not just crumble down and be depleted and the energy low. So your nervous system is regulated right now. That's what you're feeling.
So that's validation. Thank you so much. I received that to my core because I've been just, I didn't know much about nervous system regulation. And it's something new for me in the past year, just understanding all the things. And yeah, so I thought I had to do a lot more, but I didn't realize I thought I was just being like, I literally have written in my emails. I've told other people. I told my best friend, I was like, I'm the happiest I've ever been. She goes, what happened? I was like, I made really bold decisions and I am in 100% alignment in living my life purpose. And I have been living my life purpose, but I used to have another business. I used to have an online business agency that managed small businesses and their social media. I fucking hated it.
Mhm.
Shut it down. And the same week, my husband's grandma died. She died on February 22nd. And she was my favorite person in his family. I love his mom and dad too. I love all of his family, but like she was my favorite person. I was like, wait a minute, she died February 22nd. I told her, I was like, that's 222. And
Mhm.
he's like, what does that mean? It's like, that's an angel number. Like she was a literal angel to me. And it was like just a reminder of like, am I living my truest life? And it was like, no, I don't want to be serving this group of people. I just want to do Reiki.
Yeah. And the message that I got from that too is you felt a loss and it brought you in the portal of not being afraid of feeling the loss. So really going after what would serve your energy and, as you said, your life purpose. Because a lot of times
Yeah.
what holds us back is the fear of mistakes, the fear of rejection, the fear of losing something. Yet that portal ramped it up for you to see it the other way, that actually you're losing your time of life and you are
I
deserving of joy.
always feel like I'm going to not have enough time in this life. And I've had a lot of death in and I've watched a lot of people die in our family or around me. And that just has been very prominent. So I sometimes, and I try not to live so fast, very intentionally, but I do, I do feel like I don't have enough time. So that's why I'm like, the time is now.
Mhm. And you've regulated that. It's that hypervigilant puts you into a very fast pace of trying to have control and security in life. So, and the signal of not good enough and not there yet really ramps up your system. So it's like go, 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 and you're it's almost like a trauma trigger because
Oh, it
it's
is. It's a
not
definitely a trauma
allowing you
trigger.
to receive and feel the worthiness within yourself and recognize you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and your achievements and your actions are not what dictate your worth. Yet
100%.
to come inside and not go outside to find that, it's a whole
My
reversal.
existence is my worth. Like just is. Yeah.
Your breath.
Yeah. My breath. I didn't even think about my breath. Wow. I always say you were born worthy. Like, like that's a common saying, right? So for me, for a long time, I'm a corporate quitter, dropout. And I had a 6-figure corporate career, but it was killing me. And I
Mhm.
quit it years ago, this month, actually. It's April. Yeah, I quit it 3 years ago this month. And it has been to disconnect my identity from the outcome or the amount of money has been quite the tangle. But now I have I'm a big prayer girl. I pray to God, to Mother Earth, to my dad who's passed. He's been passed this on Saturday will be 10 years. Um, I pray to my higher self. I pray to my Reiki guides. Mary Magdalene is my obsession right now. And I have my validation is I collect signs, which then if I have to provide to a logical brain, I say, well, I've had enough evidence that proves that when I rest, I get rewarded. When I choose myself, I get rewarded. When I honor myself, I get rewarded. Meaning, like the thing that I do need arrives, and it was a surprise. So, So when I rest, I get a new client, or the marketing funnel that I implemented that I was so proud of actually worked, or someone finds me on YouTube, or um and then they book a, like a thing, an offer or whatever. And that's haven't been happening so much since I just decided to do like all in Reiki. I even have my own podcast, and I decided I just needed a break, and I allowed myself to rest. And I was like, I don't want to do this unless this is fun anymore.
Mhm.
And I wasn't inspired. So I was like, I'm going to do this again. And I want to do this again, but only when I feel it, when I get the inspiration, when I have, because I'm a human design projector. I don't know if you're into human design.
Yep.
Um, I didn't have anything to say or share. And I hadn't, and for me, basically, is I wasn't seeing anything. I wasn't feeling anything that was wise, or I was being called to share anything obvious, any patterns. So with that, I was like, this is not, if it's not serving, if I'm not feeling it in my womb, then it's not going to be any good.
Yeah.
Then that's not going to impact anything or anyone. So uh, we are just now, we're gonna come back in a couple of weeks. I hired my podcast strategist again, and we're like, these are my ideas, but I need your help. But I feel inspired to create again. But I needed space, and I needed time to pause to rejuvenate.
You had to hibernate.
Yeah,
Tell yourself you have to
exactly
have
that. You have
seasons
to
of
rest to
hibernation.
restore.
Yeah.
And a lot of women also, just like for the fertility space, is I'm like, I was like, I really need you to rest. I need you to like, oh, I'm going and going back and trying again, like back to Mexico. I was like, no, I said, I really need you to rest. Your
Mhm.
womb is not ready. Your womb is so tired. Like, it's not like, I need you to like pause. Can we do this 6 months from now? And I say, I need you to restore. I need you to feel, I need you to live again. There is no joy. I'm not feeling any joy in your whole system. Where do you source your joy from? And a lot of people can't answer that question. And a lot of people can't, uh, a lot of people stop living with fertility treatments or trying to conceive a baby because it's something they desperately want. But living still while having, but while still trying to conceive, is a way that can be done. But you have to, it's definitely, it's a shift.
It's a
So
shift. And it's also, they have to come out of their head and come back into their body. And they're not
yes,
coming
their mind
into
body
their body.
connection,
So when you rest
100%.
and you're in stillness, you're coming back into your body. Yet when you're not, when you're trying to grasp and have that desperate energy, because this is the desire I want, and I feel like it's going to fill a hole with an H in me, to fill a completion of a hole with a W, your mind is going rampant to try to get that for you, not recognizing you're not in your body to receive that, to connect and to tell your body we're ready to be fertile. We're ready to receive this, and to disarm and regulate the nervous system so you're not in hypervigilance, because that cortisol release is impacting your womb and impacting your system, your
100%.
endocrine system and all that. So, and it's very easy, the logical catchphrases where we're saying rest and restore and do this. And it's like, yeah, easier said than done. Help me to relate. And it's okay, you have to come back into your body. You're not in your body, you're in your head of this desire, and you're running away more than possibly from a wound that has disconnected the communication within your body. And you haven't cultivated the tools within yourself to finally face that and release it, to finally face parts of yourself that have been hidden in the shadow. And you're not aware that you have to bring it to the light of your awareness. There's no monsters inside of you.
I think that for me, the greatest the greatest jump or the connection to make that successful in the work that I do is is to give people the ability to heal themselves with Reiki. And I amongst all these other changes in my life, I've totally revamped my entire membership. And that's like the least inexpensive way to work with me. They learn how to do Reiki. I got the private podcast. They have the vault of meditations, and then we have a live healing call. But the thing is that all the clients that were able to conceive with me are all Reiki attuned. And the ability to manage stress, fear, and anxiety in real time, but also develop the relationship with your body, develop the relationship with yourself, your soul, but also with healing. So that it's not a practice, it's not a chore, it's not self-care. It is just like everyone talks about money relationship or anything like that. It's a relationship you're choosing to have that's going to benefit you in so many different ways. Um, because healing's not a one-time event, right? So healing has to occur, and it is self-care, but this is so much more than that. So for me is that the connection of a lot of the women to come out of to build that connection between their mind and their body, or their soul and their body, and all three, is to help them understand that the masculine energy that's carried them so far, where they've been dominant or assertive or rewarded for get it done, and the um you know she'll achieve everything girl or woman, and is to get out of that, and it's okay to do less. It's okay to not commit as much. It's okay, people will figure it out. In understanding that people who to release the attachment to people or having the need of people, in understanding that she is the prize, that she's like valuing her above others. And that comes with the Reiki. And that allows her to soften and switch into like, let people call you. You don't need to be the first at the picnic, or you don't even have to offer, I don't know, Lourdes or whoever to move. She can hire movers. She existed before you. She'll exist after you. Let her figure it out. Your job right now is healing, and your job and focus right now is to prepare to receive so that you can have a baby. The opposite of giving is receiving, like you said. However, a lot of women don't even know how to ask, or articulate, not just, oh, can I have a glass of water, but like really ask for what they need, let alone what they want. Um, And that also comes from, activating the throat chakra and the connection to the womb, and like valuing herself. And when I put in the perspective as like for women who I have to put the end goal, so it's like, so who are stuck in that. I was like, okay, so if you do have your baby, they're in kindergarten, and your your kid is Betty, and Johnny kicks Betty. Are you gonna sit by and say nothing? No, you're going to advocate for Betty and say, no, you can't kick Betty. That's not nice. You're going to go speak to someone, or you're going to speak to that child, but you're going to do something about it that comes from advocacy, that comes from communication, that comes from power, that comes from love and value and worth. And he said, that is the the point. It was like, to get there, we have to do that for you, because the baby that's coming in is transforming you to become the parents they need you to quantum leap to grow to expand to, because the things that they're going to need, they're using you to guide them. But that starts now. So that spirit baby on the other side, when I attach it to more than them, like it was like these things, these feelings, they're for a purpose, because they're building blocks to where you need to end up for that moment. You're not going to let Betty get hurt. So why would you let you or a 7-year-old, your inner child, get hurt?
Yeah.
And then that connection, it's almost like an inner child reconciliation of like, it's a like, and they're like, oh, that kind of like metaphor scenario really is transformative for a lot of people, because sometimes they can't, if they're trying to conceive, they can't get past the positive pregnancy test, or they can't imagine themselves pregnant. They can't imagine themselves postpartum. They can't imagine first birthdays, let alone kindergarten. But like, let me paint the picture. Let me lend you there. There's a reason why a lot of healers or thought like the leaders, they've went first. They've lived it. I know. I had no self-worth at one point. I chose terrible partners because I had no self-worth, because I had a daddy wound, because I had abandonment issues. That is not the case anymore. My throat is good, but I can tell you that was my throat and my sacral they were blown away.
Mhm.
Um, not positive ways when I was trying to conceive because I felt unsafe to take up space, to speak, to ask, to exist, to feel. That was mainly the feel,
Yeah.
you know, let alone communicate how I was feeling. So that's how it all comes together. But that little scenario, like, yeah, I'm gonna rise up. Yes, there's yes, together.
Mhm.
Let's do this. So that's kind of like my trick, or what I have helped clients with. So I hope it's helpful to someone else.
Yeah. That is the, I don't know if you've recognized that, but that's the nervous system language.
No. No, I know, no, no. I didn't know that. I'm
Because
just
they're
living my
people pleasing,
experience.
because they're people pleasing and trying to fix is in the fawn, because there's four F's in the nervous system. So they're all the way at the bottom part of fawning. And so let me help other people to get the reward of feeling like I'm a good person, because it's nice and rewarding when somebody's like, oh, you helped me and I couldn't have done it without you. So you get that reward system,
I
not
get a lot of people
realizing
like that. Yeah.
this is a trauma response, and you're always in a better situation of giving than receiving, because we have been indoctrinated that if you receive, you're in need and you're in a very vulnerable, threatening position. So always be in a position of giving, because that means it's a power.
100%. And for me, I knew that was I have a core memory about this. Do you want me to share? Or
Yeah, of course.
so my dad was a very machista Ecuadorian man, and he immigrated to this country when he was 18. And I'm the youngest of three. So I'm the last, and I'm much younger than the rest. Um, he used to tell me, I want to make a man out of you. Never ask for favors because you'll always owe someone, and you don't want to ever. So he was all about everything was hyper independence. So that's also something that I learned as well. Very similar to like, if you give, that's the power. The power also that I had to undo was like, well, I can just do it by myself. I can do it by myself. I don't need help. Well, guess what? I got tired in every way that you could get tired of doing everything by myself. And it took many years of therapy, and even like therapy with my husband who loves me. I married my husband because I just knew no one was ever going to love me any better than he was. And he was my person, and I could never get enough time with him, obsessed with him. He's everything. And it took me even years in our marriage, married to a fantastic human, to decondition that, to feel safe enough to like give him stuff to do, to that I didn't have to do it all. Oh, and decondition like you're not a good Latin wife unless you cook, clean, do all the things and work. So fucked up.
Yeah.
So yeah, so to receive for me now is the greatest celebration, because that means I've made it, because it's something my dad could never do. And it's something that then it's a confirmation for me. I broke a huge family pattern
Yeah.
that was very toxic. My little has no problem asking for things. So I have a 7-year-old. He's the first Reiki baby. And I also have to make sure also that I'm a safe person when this perfectly great tiny human is living in a regulated, non-toxic, non-abusive home. He's asking for 10 hugs. I have to make sure that I am emotionally regulated to deliver because he's
Yeah.
asking
Yeah.
and I need to meet that need. So that's next level. So
Yeah. And it's a valid thing because we always think we have to be in connection with our children. And sometimes we're not connected. And it's just having a language of being able to know it's not about the disconnection, it's about the repair and allowing them to see what being human is. And sometimes there's this aversion because the old patterns coming like, I didn't get hugs, so I don't want to hug. And I'm just over capacity, overwhelmed right now. Yet bringing myself of, it's not about my needs right now. I'm the parent. How can I be responsible and open up for this human being that's in front of me? And it's these things that happen in real time. Yet the more that you engage with yourself, the more that you're able to tease out and have a language for it and be able to articulate, because we're not always going to get it right. And to think that we're not going to cause any harm or hurt feelings. We're not 100% perfect. Being human and relating with each other, it's not an easy task. It doesn't matter how great a person is. It's just
right.
relating with each other. It's always about the repair. And as you said it too, it's until you connected into safety within yourself and learned that the safety, I have to create it within myself, that things started to open up and your body could show things and you could change the conditioning that was presented to you. You could shift your perception and how you related with things, that it's like all of a sudden, like, I can exhale now. Like, oh my gosh, this is what it is to take a deep breath and be able to let it out and just, flow with it. I thank you for that vulnerability and sharing that core memory so that when the listeners hear it, they can relate to it even more in depth, where it's like, it's not just this theory and logical stuff. It's when we present our own personal experiences, it becomes relatable. And then somebody's like, oh, it's like they're in my head and they're saying the exact thing that I'm going through, so that it's like, okay, it's connecting from the inside out, not from the outside in. It's no longer looking at yourself from the outside. It's being in the inside of yourself. Yet it's a journey to get there. It's a journey to deconstruct. It's a journey to recreate definitions for yourself of what that looks like for you. We jumped right into this podcast. So a lot of
I
this
was
is,
just going with it. I was like, okay.
I love it. This is how the podcast is. So welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, where we break mental health stigmas through conversations. I'm your host, Nat, and we dive into topics about trauma and how it impacts the nervous system. Yet we don't just leave you there. We share insights and tools of self-care, meditation, and growth that help you be curious about your own biology. Your presence matters. Please like and subscribe to our podcast. Help our community grow. Let's get into this. Oh, and please remember to be kind to yourself. As you can hear, listeners, I am with the beautiful Carolina, and she is the guest today, and she's going to, as we heard about womb healing and Reiki and all the beautiful stuff that she's providing for her clients. I would ask you, Carolina, if you would join me in a meditation. I usually start this
I
at the
would
beginning.
love that so much. Yes, I am so ready. Let me just,
Okay,
I have coffee and cucumber water.
great. So for the listeners, I'm going to ask you to join us also. If you're driving or if you're doing anything that needs your visual, please don't close your eyes. I want you to be safe and everybody else around you. Yet the other prompts you're able to do. So Carolina, I'll ask you just to get comfortable and close your eyes. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. You're not going to try and control your breath. You're just going to observe it going in and out and see the rhythm. Feel how the body is feeling, while still keeping your awareness on your breath. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop into your body. Drop into the now. Keep your awareness on your breath. There may be some thoughts or some memories that may have come up. It's fine. Don't push them away. Just bring your awareness back to your breath. You don't have to get enmeshed in them or be a first person in those things. You can just observe them while still staying focused with your breath. Dropping down deeper into your body. Just keeping your awareness on that breath. Caroline, I'm going to ask you in your mind to create an intention that you want to bring forth in this conversation for the podcast, for the listeners. And when you've created that intention, I'll ask you to release it in your mind, in your thought, allowing it to drop into your nervous system, down into your throat for your voice, down into your heart, down into your spirit, your soul, into your life force, into your energy field. Still staying with your breath and dropping deeper into your body, allowing that intention to vibrate out and surround you. Continue staying with your breath, dropping further into the body, feeling an openness. Now, while still staying with your breath, you're going to come into your senses, and at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes while still staying with your breath. How's your heart doing?
You can hear it pound, but it's not going fast. In my meditation, I actually visualized my heart. Can you
Can you
feel
let,
it too?
yeah, yeah. Can you let the listeners know who Carolina is?
She is the soul, the spirit that is forever trying, forever showing up and feeling compassion for others, um, and being present in the womb so others can and feel the love that they deserve and also create the children that they deserve in the way that they wish and heal so that they heal more upfront so they can get the experiences through fertility, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum that they are meant to have in the most positive ways.
Can you let the listeners know what womb healing is in Reiki? Because that's what you provide for your
Sure.
clients. Some listeners may be like, what are you talking about?
So I will start with what Reiki is. Reiki is it originated in Japan over 100 years ago. It's a form of energy healing and it can be done in person or over a distance. It can be done online, which is distance. If it's done in person, your hands can hover above you or be placed on top of you, and you should always be clothed. and it works with your chakra system, which are the main energy centers of your body. Six of them, the six major ones sit on your spine, and the seventh on the top of your head. And those energy centers are meant to be open and flowing. They can be blocked, open, and balanced. They can also have an excess of energy. And Reiki works to holistically and efficiently, is what I like to say, heal all parts of you, all of your bodies, all layers of you. So if you do have physical pain, that means that there is an energy or an emotion stuck in that tissue. Reiki will help remove it. It brings the lower vibration things to the surface to be released. Now, it's up to your subconscious mind to release it or not. And so in a Reiki session, you can feel warmth, tingles, sensations of warmth move through your body. You could fall asleep. You could yawn. You could cough. All of those are energy moving through your body. You could also cry. And it's because it's a release. Things that you may not know that need to be released are coming to the surface because they're the lower vibration. So with Reiki, it works with any faith system or no faith system. And as long as the person is consenting, um, the energy can be given to the person from the practitioner. The energy does not come from the practitioner, it comes through them. So they are a conduit, a channel. And with Reiki, there's different lineages. Um, for me, I practice Kundalini, which is what I have found home in. I'm attuned and certified to 4 different lineages, but this one is what is most authentic to me in my energy. Um, and there's different levels of Reiki, meaning level 1 is for self Reiki. Level 2 is what you need to practice on others. Level 3 is Reiki Master, which is teacher level. And then different lineages might have more than that, but that's generally what the levels are. I have taken Reiki and applied it to the womb. It didn't initially start off as that. I was recommended to get Reiki in the same week from a trusted psychic medium and my therapist in the same week. And I was on medical leave. I was suffering from a concussion. I had fallen off my horse and we were actively trying to get pregnant and we had been, and there was nothing wrong with me medically. I was just really depressed and I had been in grief therapy well over a year and a half at this point. And so I went and got Reiki the next week. And then the next month, I was testing positive with our son, Ollie. And that was my first experience with Reiki. The most common question is, can I get pregnant after one Reiki session? The healing time is different for everyone. I had just done a lot of, my therapist was really good. So I felt like I had done a lot of the soul work before I came to that appointment. And that appointment changed me. It was the first time I could take a deep breath after my dad had died. Because at that point, my dad was my safety in the world. And I was grieving and feeling very unsafe and questioning what is true, what is not true. Very deep questions, searching for the meaning of death. Because how does a person cease to exist that you talk to every single day? He was the only person to never physically abuse me and my family. So it was very difficult loss and it transformed me in so many ways. It was the beginning. His death was the beginning of my spiritual awakening. Fast forward, got Reiki through my pregnancy. I got certified when Ollie was 6 months. So when I was postpartum 6 months, and I started serving women in their postpartum because that's what I was really passionate about. Because that's what I was like coming out of. And then I started serving just women, and I went from being mobile, taking my massage table to people's houses, which was hell, because stairs and a heavy massage table, not the jam. I went to a chiropractor's office and I was there for years. And then right before COVID, I shut it down and I went online. But Reiki womb healing, serving all of those women, I always went back to the womb, whether they were suburban housewives in the picture perfect life, they were still searching for meaning and connection, and they were just going through the motions. Or maybe it was a traumatic event, or you know or women were connecting to parts of themselves they hadn't before. Like I had worked with one woman, she had been adopted and she was in her 40s and she was going to go meet her dad for the first time. I mean, it could have been anything, but what I noticed, the pattern went back to the womb. Self identity, the beliefs around self, feeling emotionally safe to show up in the world was like just the basic common theme. Do they feel worthy and safe enough to feel their emotions so then they can go and do the thing or speak differently or expand differently or have a different conversation or ask for intimacy? Or because then can they go on to say that to feel or even be honest with themselves? You know, radical honesty is a whole different level of healing, right? Like to say, I deserve pleasure. I deserve time away for my kids to find my passions again, to find joy again. I need a time to myself and that they're worthy to say and expand that. Um, for me, it all just went back to the womb. All the other chakras matter, but it was like that's where I ended up spending the most time. And as a healer, I would notice that my clients would mirror me and I was working on my womb. So eventually over time, I I worked with a business coach and I had to write my birth story, I had to write my postpartum story, I had to write my fertility story, like your origin, right?
Yeah.
And I was like identifying more as a womb healer. I was like, okay, this thing is like, all right, let's dive into the womb. Like, what does this mean for me? How do I own this? How do I own this part of me? Because I'm an all in kind of girl.
Mhm.
So with this, then I was just like, then I just started to see and respond to more and more people were responding to the fertility. And I was like, yeah, Ollie was the first one. He was the first Reiki baby, and I didn't even know it. So, and at that point, we have 97.
Wow.
So that's what I coined myself. Somebody called me when I was in the chiropractor's office. You're the womb healer. And I was like, because we saw a lot of women. She was a family chiropractor, pediatric chiropractor, and she would do acupuncture and for IUIs and IVF patients. And I would do Reiki after she would do their acupuncture. So it was really fun. And I was like, this also brought me the most joy. Like this is like when you think about like who you never get tired of working with. I love serving women from preconception all the way through postpartum. Sometimes I get to meet the babies,
Oh,
and
nice.
it is the most delicious, yummy feeling in the entire world to like, I was channeling this little spirit baby preconception, and now they're here. Are you flipping kidding me?
Yeah.
What kind of out of world alien experience am I living? It is, Ryan's like, I can't believe like that happened. And I love it. Like, as I have matured in my healing practices and have worked with more women, the babies that come in are really fun. I worked on this girl back in the day, my first job was Carnival Cruise Lines. And I had a friend, and she was the it girl on the reservations calls floor. And she contacted me. She was still friends on my Facebook page. And I remember I was doing my first beta group healing program. And I was not very confident. I was like, this is still COVID and yada, yada. So it's like 8 weeks for $99. Let's go. And she ended up getting pregnant. Two people got pregnant in that container. And she's like, that's the best $99 I've ever spent in my life. I said, I bet. And she's now pregnant with her third Reiki baby. And it was just, you just never know, like, just to know that, like, one, like this old friend, old acquaintance, like, I love her dearly. And then, like, to see these children and, like, channel them. But her son, who's now, you know, he's big now, but he was the first one to show me his chakras in utero. He's like,
Oh,
look at my chakras. I was like, I always, his name is Noah. She's been on my podcast multiple times, so I can share her story. But like his energy in the womb is the same as his personality in the womb as it is, you know, in real life in our side. But he was the first baby to like talk to me in the way like I would channel like dead people or past loved ones. But he like showed me his chakras and he popped them out kind of like like a U shape. He's like, look at my chakras. And that was the first time I was like, it never even occurred to me to scan baby chakras. He was the first one, and that was just a few years ago. So it's always developing, like spirits that are coming in, souls that are coming in, surprise me all the time. But so it's just like just being open to see how it evolves. So Reiki womb healing essentially is applying the Reiki energy. Long way to answer your question. Is applying Reiki energy specifically to the womb. And the womb is important because it's your emotional reservoir, good and bad. And a lot of our worth, our creativity, our sexuality, our sensuality, our joy, our passions are wrapped up in our womb. So I like to say emotional safety is important, probably the most important to establish in a healing relationship. Because if we can make you feel emotionally safe, you're going to speak differently. You're going to operate differently. You're going to possibly pause and slow down. You're going to think more more thoroughly through things. And we also potentially could have like a treatment plan or a healing plan of like start to identify what are your triggers and trace back those triggers to either life events or wounds. And, big relationships reside in the womb. The presence of them are, especially the biggest ones, are father and mother. So if you are looking to do, this is all shadow work on steroids, but with the focus of healing your womb. I do it with the intention of helping you conceive, but you can apply this for increasing your libido, decreasing painful periods, um, having manifesting better because you create everything in your life from your womb. So and men have energetic wombs as well. When we think about wounds in the womb, the biggest wound one for me is the father one. Is the father wound is the number one. I'll be like, tell me about your relationship with your dad. And I'll let them tell me how it is right now. And then it's like, okay, how was it when what's your first negative memory of your dad? And like what is it when he calls? What do you feel? And sometimes I don't get people usually that are having a lovey-dovey relationship with their dad. Usually they're not.
Mhm.
But sometimes they are. So the work that we do has no reflection on the character of the parent. It's just we're removing stuck energy, stuck emotions, and de-triggering you so that you can live life as happy as possible. And this has nothing to do with forgiveness. It has nothing to do with reconciliation. This has everything to do with your personal decision of XYZ happened. How do you feel about it right now? Are you ready to release that narrative that you've been holding on to? And then Reiki just helps remove it. So that's technically what I do with Reiki womb healing and allowing you to move through the most painful wounds and blockages to optimize your fertility. And it goes along with your fertility plan that you're doing with your doctor. So it's not going to interfere. It's only going to amplify and make your fertility plan more successful. Because if we can heal your dad wound, your mother wound, let me tell you, it's going to change you. And the healing, you will never regret it.
Yeah. And save you a lot of money in therapy bills because you're doing the healing from within, like you said, showing
Absolutely.
person the portal of, really understanding their biology, understanding, because how I use it in the service that I provide to people, it's like, okay, we're going to remove the word trauma and we're going to replace it with energy. So
Mm.
energy, whatever the experience was, you identified with this experience and you created a perception. So like you said, that narrative is keeping looping and then it got bigger and bigger and it ramped up without really identifying what were actually your true emotions also. Because you may have had secondary emotions to help keep you safe in the situation and not really felt the authentic and true emotions of what that experience felt like for you. And right now, you may just be always running off of secondary emotions, not the true emotions. And like you said, the healing of honesty if you can get to deep honesty, you're like going zoom with your healing because you're coming back into your core, into your big S, yourself, and being able to relate with your worth and not trying to achieve it or get to it like you're in it. So you understand, okay, I'm allowed to feel this. I'm allowed to have these thoughts. I'm allowed to perceive like, and then the boundary work and how I want to be treated and respected. It sounds like a lot, and it is when you're going through the process. Yet once you open up, it's almost like a light switch that something opens up, and then there's this floodgate of everything starts to make sense and things click in. I don't know if your clients have said that or if you've actually
Yeah.
found in your own life that all of a sudden that energy, once it's dislodged, it's like everything starts to open up, and it's like, oh wow, like I didn't see it this way before. My perception only looked to the left rather than seeing that I could look to the right and the left all at the same time.
My husband made a comment to me a while ago and he goes, "You don't ask for anyone's opinion anymore when you're making decisions." I said, "No, I don't need to." Whereas he will vet things with me. I'm his sounding board. And I was like, "No, I make the best decisions for myself and for us. If it's a family decision, of course, we'll have a conversation." But I was like, "No, I don't ask. I'm very sure of the decisions I make. And that's because of I'm choosing me all of the time. I'm the most important person. And I would never have dared to say that before, like even a year ago, because I would have felt like there was so many, like to say that would mean so many things. And now I think since I hit 40, I'm gonna be 41 next month. I think I just like it's a different liberate. It's like the word that comes up with me, like the future self of the thing, the person that's doing the thing that I want to do. What would they be doing? Okay. And then go do that and be fearless in it. That is like the thing. That's how I'm approaching things now. So like I don't, it's just even like if I put boundaries with my mom, she and I are good, but there's necessary boundaries for us to exist together. Um, and my husband's like, "When is the last time you talked to your mom?" I was like, a couple weeks ago. And he goes, "You don't talk." I was like, "Nope, there's a boundary there that I'm taking a time out because I am allowed to take that." Giving myself permission and having those internal conversations. But when the observation from my partner was, you're making a lot of decisions. You're not asking anybody. You're not asking me. You're not asking your bestie. Have you talked to so and so about that? It's like, no. Why? Like that was next level for me. And I was just like, no, I'm the it girl in my life. Like I make and like that also came as a core belief of like trusting myself is I do make great decisions
Mhm.
and I am good with money and I am a kick-ass mom. I don't need to ask. I don't need to seek 1,000 opinions because I'm not going to like any of them. And I don't, I, and it's a waste of time because I'm just going to decide what I want anyway. So, but like, just like that alone, I spent a lot of time just saying I make great decisions as like an affirmation and mantra. And I would say it over and over and over again because I had to get, there was there was a next level, even though he's been passed away 10 years. Like dad stuff comes up all the time of like not trusting myself because that was either he never physically abused me, the mental toll that that man took on me to like undo isn't taking it, that has been the most complicated undoing out of like the family relationships I've had in my life is like, yes, I am trustworthy. It's just that you are too whatever to see my worth and see how good I was. That's not my problem anymore. That's
Mhm.
you're dead. Like I
Mhm.
don't have to handle that anymore. And to remind me, like it's okay to feel relieved that I don't have this toxic person around. And some people are like, "Oh, you're so sad." I'm like, "No, he was really difficult. Even though he was my safe person, he was toxic and he was mean. Just because he physically abused you doesn't mean that there's not emotional or mental abuse there." I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So like
psychological is the worst.
I'm really glad he's not around. My life is a lot happier without him around. And I'm
Mhm.
not apologetic for that either,
Mm.
because he was the hardest person to love, and I've done a lot of healing around that, and I'm much freer to exist the way I want to without chains.
Thank you for that vulnerability and that honesty so other people can hear that, because it may feel very threatening to some, because we're supposed to regard our parents as a certain way
Yeah.
and diminish our own worth and not realize, you know, what I'm hearing you say is that your father had a lot of fear and needing to control, and that fear was projected on you, that I don't trust that you can make the right decisions to not harm yourself. And I don't have the strength to see you go through pain. So I would rather control you
Ooh,
in a
that's a good articulation of it.
yeah, like I tell people, I'm like, you want a good spiritual practice? Become a parent, because you'll learn about yourself. And it's
This
a
new.
reflection of, like you mentioned about the inner child, your son is showing you certain things about yourself, and it's a male now, the male that your father wanted you to be. And it's also that your father's coming through the spirit of him, so that parents and child relationship is getting repaired in a different way, so that you can see even more parts of yourself that you weren't able to see through your father's reflection, because he just wasn't open as a vessel. He was
Oh,
just
yeah.
riddled with so
Yeah.
much fear and not
No,
feeling good enough, and feeling, and to be an immigrant in another country,
so hard.
there's no words of how that hypervigilance and always worried, like not feeling of sense of belonging. So what I really heard in that message that you said is that you're trusting yourself. You've come back into trusting yourself. And to be validated is, I'm going to create that validation for myself, no longer going to others to really get that reinforcement. I am the source of that. And that is showing the work that you've done for yourself. It's
Thank you.
huge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I never
Like,
thought of my dad as a fearful person, but that 100% checks out. 100%, like, because it wasn't just with me, it was everyone.
I
But it's
understand the nervous system very well. And I give it a
yeah,
language that people can relate to it differently, that they didn't see it.
digest it. Yeah. Yeah. No, you just did you no,
Yeah.
because when you talked about my relationship with my son, sometimes I call it like the most common word I've done is used to describe it is consuming. Ollie consumes me. He needs all parts of me. And this, my dad was consuming. Um, so sometimes I have implemented in our house that it's okay to ask for breaks. And we have to explain that break, and we remind each other breaks are for my regulation, and I just need some me time. And it's okay to ask to have some alone time. And then I come back and I'm a better mom for it. Or my husband's a better person. Or sometimes Ollie needs time alone and he goes and cuddles with his stuffed animals, or he might ask for screen time or might read a book. But taking breaks has allowed me to not feel like the consuming part can also feel like suffocation. Like the consuming part of like, he needs all of me and he's a very intense being, but he's also very loving. He very much mirrors me. We're the same human design type. He looks like my husband, but is very like my energy, big energy, very intense energy, deep feelings, deep thoughts. And I just need to make sure that I have to make sure I'm regulated before he comes home to make sure that that's all that I'm doing. And if that doesn't happen, then it's very hard on both of us. Because then if I'm anxious, he will immediately mirror that and match my energy and flip the script. And like, and he's like, oh, we're going to go at this. And I'm just like, and it's just very not the energy of my husband's family. They're all very calm, polite, very like chill people. And like, I know who I am and I'm a very intense person. So this energy, I was like, you might want to step out. Like, Ollie and I are just going to talk for a while. We're gonna. I'm like, what would I like in this situation when I was 7?
Yeah.
And a lot of it has what to do with autonomy, with choices, and making sure that he feels heard. And like also just like emptying his brain is probably half the battle, but also the, also getting stuff done in there.
Yeah.
So it's fun, but it's also like perplexing because I have to make sure that I am being very mindful. Like, what am I feeling? It's 3 o'clock. Okay, we need to ground. I need to make sure there's food. The couple of things that I need to have his food, snacks ready for after school. Okay, how am I feeling? And I like might need to move my body for like 10 or 15 minutes and then I'm ready for him because it's and that's why we only had one.
A
I
lot.
love him with everything that I am. And I'm a really like I know that I'm the mom he needs. But we also, if anyone's listening, I apologize on the daily. Like it's really important. He's seen me cry. He's seen me argue with my husband. We don't hide anything because we live real life here. But I also learned good, healthy, how to fight or argue with my husband. Like we never call names. He's never heard me call my husband a name because it's never happened. We use please and thank you. We have a community in our home. Like he models a lot of good behaviors and he's polite naturally because we're polite with each other, but we're also very honest.
Mm-hmm.
So like that he's very emotionally mature, I would say, even for 7, because of the things that we do our home with intentionality. But I apologize. So sometimes I might raise my voice or like we have 3 dogs and him. So like 2 Cavalier King Charles and a Cocker Spaniel and him. It's 3 and a 9-month-old puppy. So life is fun. It's full around here. So there might be stop barking, stop biting. Don't do that to the dog, please. I'm cooking dinner. So, like you're like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have yelled at you. Sorry, I rushed you. I'm really sorry about that. Do you forgive me? And like that shows that I'm human and that shows that one, that I care about how he feels and thinks about our relationship. And then I'm not telling him that he to shut up and put it away. I'm teaching him to feel things. Or the other thing we implemented that was really important to me, because as a child, a huge thing with my mom was I never felt heard. We implemented something called family meetings. And it's where every person, we choose one thing. It's usually one of his toys, and whoever has that thing or toy can only talk. And we taught him, like, don't interrupt. And we have to actively listen. So, like, we have to, like, what are you feeling? Let's do a check in. So, family meetings are not bad. They're not scolding, they're an emotional check in. And the family meeting, that means that he's feeling out of control or out of touch, or he's angry and he needs to tell us. And and then we have a code word that if we're out in public or like at a play date, he uses that code word and our heads swivel. Like, okay, we'll do an emotional check-in. He's used it a few times and I was proud of him. So like that, just having, and sometimes he doesn't want to talk, but I do. So I'm stubborn, being Hispanic. I love that about me, and I'm a Taurus. I will sit there. I was like, okay, we're going to sit here and I'm going to wait for you, but we're not doing anything until you tell me how you're feeling, because we're at a stop roads. My husband's like, no, let him. No, I was like, no, because we did a play date and that little boy did not. He just threw a tantrum, and tantrums, that's going to happen. But he just like would not talk to his mom, and Ollie adopted that the one play date, and I was like, no, and exhibit just mimic the behavior of crossed arms. No, I don't have to talk to you. You're not the boss of me. I was like, no, like we're a family and we speak, and that's a rule. It's like part of our family mission statement is like, oh, I can't fix it. I can't address it. I can't make our evening better until I know how you feel. And I will sit here until you tell me, would you like me to hug you? Would you want me to hold you? Do you want a glass of water? But we're going to sit here until we do. So that's also another rule. Like, if you don't want to talk about it, I'm going to give you some space to talk about it, but I'm sitting here until you're ready. Because also I'm going to show up for you, even if you may not see that you need me. So that is like I sometimes think about like, what did I need at 7 and how did I want to do it? Because he's, again, very much like me. And I tell my husband, and he goes, how do you know what to do for him? I'm like, think about when I was 7 and how I could have, like, how things could have been a lot easier for me. And that's what I do for Ollie.
Yeah. You're repairing that parenting and showing up
I
in a
didn't know
different
that's what I
way.
was doing until you mentioned it. Thank you for bringing that to light for me. I received that so much.
Yeah. And like you said, you're changing that generational pattern. Some people call it generational trauma, generational curse, generational pattern. You're shifting to change it and allowing emotions to be there. Because what happened is a lot of times little human beings aren't allowed to feel they're authentic because it disrupts the adult, and the adult hasn't been able to interact with their own emotions. So, how can you hold space for another human if you haven't even interacted with your own inner space? And that's where it becomes really charged up. And I thank you for showing what it looks like to not be the parent and child. It's like human to human. How am I going to model what it looks like to be human and what it looks like in real time? That you're going to argue, you're going to raise your voice, you're going to say some things that, oh, in the moment you didn't realize the harm or the hurt it may do. Yet you're coming back with the repair of acknowledging, you know what, I did this and I apologize. And, say whatever you have to say about what that felt like for you so that we can repair that connection. Yet I'm human, and we're not always going to be. I think people get confused with this gentle parenting and thinking, oh, well, you're going to be perfect. And
I
I'm like,
know there's a lot of like, let me tell you, when Ollie came out of me, I was super crunchy and not so crunchy now. Like we eat processed foods and all the things and he's fully vaxxed. But like I I breastfed Ollie for 4 years. I baby wore, I co-slept. Like I did all of the gentle parent attachment parenting is really what we identified with. And it benefited us and it's very evident, but it creates for very strong children, the attachment parenting, which is very similar to gentle parenting. But like nobody says, like, I think the biggest thing for me was what I had a postpartum doula who became a very dear friend of mine. And I just refuse to do life without her now. And she's also a parenting coach, but she's an attachment parenting coach or a positive parenting. That's what it's called now. And she said, nobody will tell you, but it's okay for him to cry. It's okay for you to cry. So, like, when I decided to evict him from my bed, this now, we only do things until they're no longer working. Because I used to make plans 5 years ahead. And I've been on podcasts recently, like, what does the next 5 years look for you? I was like, I don't know. I shift too much to plan more than to the end of the year. And even then, that's probably going to shift because I live and change things. I'm not erratic, but I move things very fast.
mhm.
So I don't know where we're going to be in 5 years, but I know we're homeschooling when he gets to middle school and we're not going to be in the US. But like that's all I know. Um, but for us, it's like I was like, I need better sleep. This is not working for me anymore. I need you to go sleep in your own bed. And like when I told her, she's like, he's gonna cry. I was like, oh, then I can't do it. He can't be upset. She goes, he's allowed to cry. I was like,
And he's
I
allowed
was
to be
like,
upset.
Rachel, am I gonna do with that? He's gonna cry. I mean, like, he's 7, of course. I'm not breastfeeding him, but like, but like that was my solution for years was like, oh, you're tired, boob. So like because that it's like that solved everything.
Mhm.
So it's like so like he sleeps in his own bed, but we have a family bedroom. So he sleeps in our room because he doesn't want to leave. And but he sleeps in his own bed. But like it just it might be adjacent to my bed where he can touch my head. He reaches over and he touches my head. So like milestones. So, but like I didn't understand that it was okay for him to cry in the gentle parenting, attachment parenting, because but he's allowed to feel that. And you're allowed to talk him through that. But I didn't know that I was supposed to be prepared for that. Like, so like if your child is crying and they're hitting certain milestones, it might be okay. Check in. I'm not a parenting coach. I'm doing life like, out here wild. So like check, but I have a resource. So I always text her. I'm like, don't know what to do here. What do I do? And she always gives us suggestions. And so like check in to see like there's resources, but yeah, it's okay for them to cry.
Yeah, because the upset, they're feeling the discomfort of fear and they have to learn to self-regulate. And what you are for your son is his self-regulation, and he's not learning to self-regulate by himself.
It's like he would when he
He's
was like
anchored in your
6.
nervous system, like you were anchored in your father's nervous system.
Ew. Ew. Whoa.
Patterns are sneaking.
No.
Yeah.
What just happened here? Wait a minute. So normally people can't. What? Shut
Take a moment.
up. That
That's what
makes
all
me.
that
So if
is.
his nervous system was, my dad's nervous system was fucked up. So then that means why I was so fucked up until like I severed the cord way years after he died.
But
What?
it was still in your
This
womb.
makes
The
sense
energy.
because Ollie couldn't sleep for the longest time. Like at daycare, he would keep himself awake until like I changed jobs and I was able to go breastfeed him during lunch break, and then he would fall asleep. He would keep himself awake,
It's for you.
or like he would keep himself awake all day if I didn't go. And like we even hired a sleep coach, and he and the pediatrician's like, if he doesn't get more sleep, he's gonna like he needs more sleep.
Yeah.
He's gonna digress. I was like, oh my gosh. But then like also like, oh yeah, he has a fear of being alone. Yeah, he's like if
Feel the
I'm
download
moving to
right
the
now?
house, huh?
Do you feel the download right now? Okay, just
I
take a
can't.
moment to feel the download, okay? In my
Wow.
world, because I said I understand the nervous system and I
So
go
how do
to,
I break that?
it's not about breaking it. It's about feeling it within yourself, because there's still some fear and some charges. What happens with nervous systems create new nervous systems. So the charges keep coming up unless we face it. So there's things that you face with your father, yet there's still a fear. And there's an avoidance. You cannot see your son feel uncomfortable right now. Like I just said, what I teach parents, the most difficult thing you'll have to do is see your child go through pain and not be able to do anything about it. That is a threat, an absolute threat, and it will signal bonkers in your system. Does he ride a bike?
No, he doesn't like bikes. He's scared of bikes.
Okay. Has he fallen and scraped his knee or injured himself in these 7
Yeah, from
years?
a scooter. Yeah.
How did that feel?
I felt really bad. Like I wanted to fix it. I Reiki'd it right away.
Yeah.
We cleaned it. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a dairy allergy. Like he has had coconut reactions. He has like a deathly allergy. So when we've had an incident over the summer, like that was like full panic. In postpartum, those panics were debilitating. Now they're a lot easier to manage, but like in postpartum, it was a full body shut down, painful, like panic attacks, daggers everywhere in my body. But now it's more of like, it's a
So
lot easier to manage.
you know that feeling that you get when you're like, you're going to tell me how you're feeling and we're not going to leave this space?
Yes.
I need to know it. That's the same control your father used on you.
So it's not healthy then.
Not for everything. Not everything we're supposed to reveal. Like you're not supposed to know everything about his inner state.
Ah,
How's he going to regulate himself if he always has to check in with you to talk about what I'm feeling? Because you're just trying to control that he doesn't go in these emotional dysregulations and fuck up the whole environment. And there's also a part where you don't
I'm
want
trying
him
to avoid
to have
the habit of him shutting down where he doesn't share.
it.
So I'm trying to force him to share.
That doesn't help. He has to be willing to do it on his own. You're not helping him to heal on his own. You're forcing him. I'm the solution. So I could only do this with you because you do Reiki, so you can understand this energetically. Other people I would try, they get some resistance, but it's snapping so quickly with you right now because you understand Reiki and the energy and you're willing to see yourself.
I can change this though.
Yeah, of course. You've been changing things. It's just facing the fear and facing the repair. You thought you're all like your dad, and I love the universe. I love it. I love what I have to do. Like, you know how you say you see these babies? It's 10 years tomorrow for your father. It's 10 years for me almost dying. And this is the serendipity of, okay, you're ready for this next dimension to walk into. You're ready to release this fear that you've been holding on to and really shifting the pattern.
You know, this will validate what you're saying. I spent most of my life in fear of my dad or the fear of his absence. And then once I had the presence of my dad, it was really scary. Oh, I can't wait to have a conversation with Ollie later. We're gonna go out to dinner because we have the best conversations at Olive Garden. But like,
That fear of
be,
losing,
oh no, that was always been my biggest fear of
that's
losing Ollie.
fear of losing
My
them emotionally, psychologically, all these different.
no, him dying.
No, I know, but that fear translates into everything after. That's how the nervous system is so complex and so subtle with things that, yeah, you're afraid of him dying, but then it goes out even more of, well, I don't want to miss
Also,
this or
our
don't.
family has cancel culture, so they quit people. So like my brother and sister quit my dad. He got too difficult. They said sayonara. So like I was the only child left right before he died.
They had strong boundaries. It's not cancel culture. They had strong boundaries that I'm
I didn't
not
even
doing.
think of that that way. Yeah, that's true. They did have a
I'm an
boundary
adult
then.
now. I'm not a child and I'm not here. And it was never my responsibility to take care of.
Ooh, see, as an adult, I would say that now, but when I was enduring that, so that was the narrative. God, you're giving me so many blockages. So like so many like so when I was the narrative, I always said, well, they were toxic. They said peace out. They quit him. No, but like if they were a client that no, they did because my dad was fucking difficult. Like I said, he was the most hardest person to
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 have to
love.
he dysregulated your nervous system because his was so intense and because of that connection of parent and child. Recognize as a child you took on the responsibility to be emotionally responsible for your father's mental state,
Decision I
and
made.
that's what's happening with your son.
He's taking it on to be responsible for my state.
No, you're still trying to be responsible for your son's mental state and his emotional state. Come tell me what's going on so I can help walk you through this. And
I
there's
thought that
nothing
was my
wrong with that.
job.
No, I understand that. Not 24/7. Not to the point
Only
where
when he comes to me or as
when you
big
see
moments.
something, when you see something, it's allowing, okay, I can see that you're
I'll
feeling
know then. Like
stuff.
I shouldn't overthink that part.
I
Yeah.
see that you feel some stuff. When you're ready, I want to talk about this. And then not we're not doing anything till you talk to me, because there's still that desperate grasp. It's like, okay, you're feeling something, and it's like if he can work it out on his own, that's the self-regulation. And then it's later on being able to, when he's regulated, can we talk about what that was? Can you give it language now? So what you're doing is right. Everything that of
I can
helping
just do it, not, but like just having the
thing,
clarity of like, I was rooted in my dad's nervous system and I don't need to be rooted with Ollie, whether he's in mine or I'm in his. I'm allowed to give him more space, just like the lady told me he's allowed to cry.
the autonomy, the self-regulation.
I didn't even think about that. He is allowed autonomy over his emotions, but like, and also sharing them. You've given me such an expansion today. I am so,
Well, I want to thank your father. He's on the other side of love now.
he's on my shelf. Um, I am super, well, I am grateful for him because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have awakened up because I think I was just living life on motion. And then the next thing is like I wouldn't be half the parent that I am to Ollie that I'm really proud of if it weren't for the polarizing experiences I had with him.
And you wouldn't be the magnificent human being you are right now.
Ooh. That is big. I I will work on receiving that. I've never called myself magnificent, but I will receive that and that will be next layer. Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful conversation. I love when we can do a deep dive and I can reflect back to a person, what is going on in their nervous system so they can just shift their perception. All we did was shift your perception to see it even more in depth, to see yourself.
I'm so blown away by you. You are a gift, and what you've seen is going to change everything for me.
I'm
I'm so
thankful.
grateful for you.
I'm thankful for this interaction because
Me
it's one in a
too.
million. So you shifting your nervous system, the energy around you just changes. It vibrates out.
Oh my gosh. And I have Reiki sessions later today. I can't wait.
Yeah. It's going to change and even now with you seeing this, it's going to change the dynamic with your son just on its own. We think we have to go to the outside to help your child build and everything else. It's like, no, it's all within us. It's all within us. Like this morning, I wanted to get on the twins. I have 14-year-old twins. Wait till he gets to be a teenager. And I was like, okay, usually I have to like get up, do your lunches because they have to do their lunches and get themselves ready and everything else. And one of them was supposed to put their clothes away. He didn't put it away. I wanted to nip, nip, nip. I just sat. And then all of a sudden they started asking each other, oh, should I wear this? Should I wear that? And they don't usually get along. And they were just going, and I was like, I stopped interfering. But then, of course,
Mm.
when asked, oh, should I go do this? And he was like, no. And then I was like, why are you doing? He's like, Mom, why are you interfering? Stay out of it. I'm like, it's the subtle of silence and allowing curiosity to see. And we are the space and the container for them to be messy.
Yes. Yeah, we're supposed to be the safe space for them to like the first hour after they come home from school. Yes,
Messy, the fear, the trying to figure it out, find it. And you got to remember their path is going to look different than yours.
it's true.
They're going to be a different human being because they have a different life purpose than you have. So they have to create their tools for the
They have to make
world
mistakes to grow.
to live in.
100%.
But it's hard. It's difficult. Like we want perfection. We don't want our children harmed. And it's like, there's going to be pain. Like there's parts that you can avoid that you're not harming, yet the pain is inevitable. That's what life is. Like I say, the strongest, like parenting, no one prepares them. The most difficult thing is watching your child go through pain and not trying to change it, fix it, soothe it. It's like pain is our teacher.
You should put that on a mug.
Yeah. I say it to people and I let them get the download. You see, I got to market myself even more with all these things. So yeah, it's it's in real time. So when I connect with people, it's like okay, I can regulate. I got, because now I get it. When I said your name with an R, and I saw that, I was like, oh, there's something with her dad, and that just triggered something hearing that. And it was
I
like,
identify a lot of my identity is wrapped up in being Hispanic, or like identifying more with that and
so,
like that side.
yeah. So I was like, when I said Carolina, she was like, yeah, it's okay, but I would like Caroline. I was like, okay, all right. But I could see that that did something. It was like, oh, okay, well, let's tease it out in this podcast and see what will come out.
I love how observant you are. Thank you so much for having me.
I
I
am, I,
truly love sharing space with you.
yeah. Can you let the listeners know where they can find you?
Sure. You can find me on all major social media platforms at the Carolina Sotomayor or carolinasotomayor.com. And I would love to connect with you. Send me a DM. Let me know what you think of this episode. And I'm always open to having conversations.
Thank you so much for being the guest and being so vulnerable and open in this conversation.
Thank you
And
so much.
sharing your gift with so many other families, because it's not just the woman, they are attached to somebody else, which makes an impact in the world. So thank you for sharing those gifts.
Thank you.
Remember to be kind to yourself.
I will. I will.
Hey, you made it all the way here. I appreciate you and your time. If you found value in this conversation, please share it out. If there was somebody that popped into your mind, take action and share it out with them. It possibly may not be them that will benefit. It's that they know somebody that will benefit from listening to this conversation. So please take action and share out the podcast. You can find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Lift Oneself. And if you want to inquire about the work that I do and the services that I provide to people, come over on my website, come into a discovery call, liftoneself.com. Until next time, please remember to be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.